Now while everyone was waiting for Asus to launch the Zenfone 3 at Computex, the company launched a brand new Zenfone Max in India, and this is our review. What's up folks, it's Abhinav from PhoneBunch, and let's get the specs of the way first. This is the new Zenfone Max. It still comes with a 5000 mAh battery, a 720p display, 2 gigs of RAM, but you have 32 gigs of onboard storage and Android Marshmallow. Now talking about the build, it is again quite similar. You have a plastic build here completely, you have sort of a faux metal finish. At the bottom you'll find the micro USB port, primary microphone, and you can see that classic Asus chin there right as well. On the right of the device you have the power lock and unlock button as well as the volume rocker. Now both of these buttons don't have good tactile response, they are very mushy, and with use the power button actually got a bit mushier. Now if you look at the top you'll find the 3.5mm audio jack, and there is a bit of a camera hump. Now for such a thick device I would have hoped that the camera hump would have been removed in at least this generation. Now talking about that rear camera, you have a 13 megapixel rear camera here with laser assisted autofocus and dual tone LED flash. There is a noise cancellation mic which actually does its job. At the bottom you have the speaker, which is actually quite tinny. It gets muffled very easily and really isn't that loud. Now the phone actually feels good to hold in hand. The rounded edges do help, but it is quite a heavy phone. But that really shouldn't be a surprise because this one has a 5000 mAh battery inside. The back cover in itself is quite solid. It is padded so that it doesn't creak, and well, it doesn't do that. Now on the inside you have two separate SIM card slots and you have a separate micro SD card slot. This phone does support 4G, and we didn't have any issues with network or call quality. In fact 4G speeds were quite alright, Wi-Fi worked good, and we didn't have any issues with GPS either. Now let's talk about the front. You have a 5 megapixel camera up top, proximity and light sensors, and yes, there is a notification LED there too. And sadly again, for the nth time, you still have capacitive buttons which are not backlit. But at least Asus has changed that with the new Zenfone 3 series. Talking about that display, it is a 720p panel, but it still looks quite sharp. It is viewable in direct sunlight outdoors, even though the front panel is quite reflective. It has good touch response and the color reproduction actually is good. Moreover, good viewing angles. Now let's talk about that rear camera. You have the default camera interface here which I am using right now. It works well. There is no shutter lag here. As you can see, it captures images very quickly and focusing is fast. And there are many modes that you can see right here, although you would be generally using the auto mode, and well, there is a very robust manual mode too if you want to get into that, but it requires a bit of tweaking. Now you can record 1080p videos with the rear camera. Now here are some of the image samples. You can see good color reproduction. There is decent amount of detail too. The dynamic range really isn't that good. Now the main issue that I face with this camera is with autofocusing. It really doesn't want to focus in that well. Tap to focus works rarely here, and you have to have quite a bit of distance between you and the subject to get a good shot. However, color reproduction actually seemed better than last time around, and you can see decent amount of detail here as well. Now in my testing I found out that the camera needs to work on two aspects: exposure control and autofocusing. Those don't actually work out that well here. And overall, if I had to judge this camera, it is quite an average performer. The Moto G3 still has a better camera, and low light performance really is abysmal here. The flash definitely helps a little bit but adds a yellowish tone, and without the flash the images are really unusable in low light or artificial light. Now since this phone is priced at Rs 10,000, the Redmi Note 3 does take the cake in the camera department. Now the Zenfone Max runs on Android Marshmallow right out of the box. Now this is the Snapdragon 615 variant. Last time around we did complain about inconsistent performance. Well, here too the performance is a bit inconsistent. I'll talk about that in a short while. Now Zen UI is really quite customizable. With Marshmallow, things at least on the outside haven't changed much, but on the inside you do get better battery life at least. And moreover, this time around you get 32 gigs of onboard storage, out of which about 24 gigs will be available, in which you can install apps and games, which is actually quite plenty. USB OTG furthermore is supported over here. And well, multitasking is handled quite well here, and we generally had more than 500 to 600 odd megabytes of RAM free, even though many apps were running in the background. Which now brings me to some of the other features of Zen UI. You can just double tap the home button to get into a one-handed mode. It's very convenient here, especially given that this phone really can't be used in one hand. And then you have double tap to sleep and double tap to wake available on the device as well, which comes in very handy because you don't have a fingerprint sensor here. Now let's get to performance. Now in general, I didn't notice any major lag on this device. Web browsing worked out great, pinch to zoom did work out well, but when you have multiple apps open in the background, this phone does begin to bog down a little bit. You can see it does take time to open up apps. The camera does take a little bit of time to open up, as do different apps. But memory management still remains good here, even after opening so many apps. If I just went back to Chrome, you can see it's still kept in memory. So overall performance is sort of a mixed bag here. In gaming, we didn't notice much lag, I have to say that. With the 720p display, the Snapdragon 615 really didn't face any issues. Moreover, it didn't heat up at all. We tried playing many of the heavier games on the phone, some lighter ones as well, and even after continuous gameplay of about 10 to 15 minutes, we didn't notice any major heating. The phone just crossed about 40 odd degrees, and which was relatively quite cool, especially given Delhi's weather. Moreover, the gameplay was very smooth. We didn't notice any major frame drops here too, and you can see very normal temperatures. We even tried Modern Combat 5, which is one of the higher end games, and well, I didn't face any lag here. Although the graphics did look a bit soft, it is a 720p panel, we have to keep that in mind. Now talking about that speaker, it does get muffled a bit, it's not the loudest and it does sound a bit tinny. Overall, the gameplay performance was good on the device, it doesn't heat up, the speaker could have been a bit louder, but the display does a very good job of rendering content and it has good touch response as well. Now let's talk about the best thing on this device. You have a 5000 mAh battery, which is non-removable, but it gives excellent battery life. You can easily get more than 2 days of use with this phone with about 9 to 10 hours of screen on time. But yes, that comes in at a cost. This phone does take quite a bit of time to charge. Now with an adaptive fast charger, we were able to charge this phone in about 4 hours from 0 to 100%. With a charger that comes within the box, it took more than 5 hours. But even then, you would have to charge this phone just once in 2 to 3 days with moderate to heavy usage. That is actually brilliant. Very few phones can actually boast that in this price segment. Moreover, this phone supports reverse charging as well. So if you have a lot of battery life left on your Zenfone Max, you can charge any other phone with it. Well folks, now let's come to a conclusion. The issues which we had with the original Zenfone Max do reflect here as well. The performance on this one too is a bit inconsistent. The cameras are really mediocre when compared to the competition. But the Zenfone Max does have a few things going for it. The first thing is its display. It is bright, it is quite sharp for a 720p panel and it is visible outdoors too, even though the front panel is quite reflective. Next is battery life. You really can't get better battery life on a phone in this price segment. So who is this phone really for? If you are a moderate user who doesn't use the camera too much, who doesn't like to play very heavy games and uses just most common apps on Android, and if you have to travel a lot, well, the Asus Zenfone Max is a very good companion and you won't have to carry any other phone or power bank to use. Well folks, that's it for this video. If you liked it, do hit that like button, do subscribe to our channel for more videos. Thanks for watching and as always, have a great day.